We're breaking down walls, tearing apart the lies. Together we'll stand, watch the whole world rise. Faith transcends boundaries, uniting every heart. In this movement of love, we're all taking part.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vision Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Last two episodes were just me. We were diving deep into some of my story and some of how the Vision Podcast got started. And I'm thankful that you all have tuned in. I'm thankful for the feedback that I've gotten on it and just the words of encouragement. It's been a really cool blessing to hear all of your thoughts and comments, and I'll take them to heart, especially as we keep moving forward. But today is not solo. Today I have another guest on. He's an awesome guy. He is a newly published author. He just made this book, From Kingpin to Kingdom. His name is Andrew Kirkland. Andrew is a former drug kingpin, radically transformed by Christ, and now he is living out his life, just trying to make a difference and an impact for the kingdom. So just help me welcome Andrew Kirkland. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, man. This is such a professional setup, and it's amazing. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really glad to talk about some raw stuff with you.
Yeah, man.
Talk about the past, talk about the present, talk about the future of the kingdom. Thanks for giving me a plug on my book.
Yeah, of course.
You've been helping me along my journey, trying to get this exposed, which is so hard. Writing the book was one thing.
Yeah.
But being a businessman, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, there's an art to it somewhere in there, right?
Yeah. So I was a kingpin drug dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. I want to get into the kingpin drug dealer.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a segue.
Yeah. we can back the car up a little bit.
Well, not only that, but tell me about who you are right now. Like, well, you're Andrew. We know that.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Who is Andrew? Who are we talking to?
Yeah. So I don't like the word Christian so much.
Okay.
I like the term disciple.
Okay.
I'm a disciple of Christ.
I
want to stay behind him so much that I'm covered in his dust. And I want to be a reflection of him, but I also want to be my true authentic self. And that means that you'll probably never see me on a stage at a church, because I speak honest and I speak truthful. So who I am is not who I was, but there's my personality, the way I speak to people is still the same.
Yeah.
The game has changed from being a manipulator to an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
Using that God-given talent of creating change in people. I always use that for my own benefit.
Yeah.
And as a criminal, that really helps when you can change somebody's behavior to benefit me, benefit yourself.
Yeah.
That's manipulation. And once I started living for Christ, I realized that he didn't give me that gift for that reason, not to make people do things for me, but to cause change in people's lives.
Yeah.
By influence. So I want to take the knowledge and the understanding of the word and try to pour that into people the way they can understand it. And that's truthful and raw and honest. That's saying I came from sex addiction, porn addiction, drug addiction, manipulation type lifestyle, criminal lifestyle. How can I relate to other people better? Like Paul said,
Yeah.
He said, to a Jew, I'm a Jew. To a Greek, I'm a Greek. To a rich, to a criminal, and that's who I see myself as, not as Paul, but as somebody that's relatable.
Okay.
That's the reason why I still listen to rap music.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. I'm very careful about what kind of music I listen to.
It's like coffee grounds.
Yeah.
Whatever you
get a
pour in the
little bit in your
top,
mouth. Well, so you said something really interesting though, just a second ago. You said, you'll never see me on a stage because I like to speak truthfully and honest.
Yeah.
I'm just curious why you said that.
Man, there's a bunch of fakes up there. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not dissing the church. I love the church. That's my family, but I can only be authentic, my authentic self. And while that is always growing closer to Christ, I say things that, the church council would say, Mr. Kirkland, you can't say those things. And I'd be like, bet I can't,
Yeah.
and I'd rather be the guy behind the stage that nobody knows, that true believers know that that's a real one.
Mhm.
And I just feel there's a lot of, well, it's hard to say because I don't want to talk badly about people. But
No, I get that.
but you
and
know what I
that's-
mean.
And I'm not trying to get you to talk bad
Yeah,
about people.
yes.
I was just curious
It's
of
just
why
that-
you said that. And I mean,
It's
because
just the polished polo shirt, khakis, and brown shoes, and hey, how are you? I want to look somebody in the eye and say like, I'm hurting like you. I'm not healed. I'll never be healed completely. And let's start from my pain and let's see if we can open up. So mine is more like a small group, one-on-one, where you can actually listen to somebody talk about their pain from a relational standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make that connection from the big stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I found like the one-on-one in the small group settings, like in the prisons, that's where I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because real recognizes real.
Yeah. That's awesome. And something I think I forgot is I want to thank Men of Valor for sponsoring this episode. And the reason I brought it up now is because Andrew's actually a volunteer for Men of Valor as well in the prisons in Sumner County.
Sumner County, yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out Men of Valor. You all are awesome.
Amen.
Yeah. I've been
Tell-
serving 18 months now.
18
A
months
little bit
in
more
there.
than that, yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Sumner County.
I guess you can say you've been serving because you're in a prison.
Yeah. I used to serve Davidson County
Oh, yeah.
now and the outlying areas because, shoot, if you smoke pot and, 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago, bet you it was my weed. Bet you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I flooded the market 200 pounds a month.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. Tell me more because you're doing kingdom things and trying to help people. But what was it like before you got there?
It started like most addicts do. You don't want to have to keep buying your own drugs because drugs are expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started with the 1 ounce, and to the layman, an ounce is, it's a bag that big. It contains 4 quarters. And if you sell 3 quarters of it, you get your quarter for free.
Mm-hmm.
I was a heavy smoker, a quarter to half an ounce a week. So I didn't want to pay for it anymore because that's $400 to $600 a month. So it's just where can I get good quality pot and just look for the friends to sell it.
Yeah.
I eventually started hanging out with this older guy who was a friend of mine's, his uncle. And I'll try not to mention his name, right?
We'll cut it out.
In the book,
Yeah.
I use fake names, obviously.
Okay.
Because somebody from the street said, you can't do that, man. You can't do that to people and set them out like that. So, yeah, I go over to this uncle's house. It's in East Nashville. And he's got this perfect downstairs East Nashville basement.
Yeah.
Drinking some IPAs and smoking some good bud. And none of my friends wanted to hang out with him, but I like intelligent conversation. This guy's super smart.
Yeah.
So they'd all leave. I'd stay and make conversation. And it just so happens I'm like, I need to get in with this guy. So he's always got pot. And this is going to be my way to start having a steady supply. Because, in the drug game, it's very hard to get what you want when you want it,
Mm.
and that, for me, that I don't like that. The calling and the waiting and
Yeah. You're on their time.
getting ducked and dodged by people. I didn't like that. This guy was steady. And so, after hanging out with him a bunch of times, he got real comfortable, and his dealer came to the house, right? And this guy looked like a homeless dude. Like, he smelled like garlic. He two different shoes. I don't know. He did not look like a drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
Didn't look like he looked like he needed to be at the Nashville Rescue Mission.
Wow.
But he sat down and we all started talking, right? He was actually a really smart guy, maybe on the spectrum. And, but he came into that guy's house with like 3 or 4 pounds of pot in Ziploc bags, vacuum sealed bags, rather.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait, I need to skip heads. I need to get to this guy, this homeless looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just, made lots of conversations, built trust, and I do what I do with the manipulation, and I started to say, I'm working for a party rental company. I've got scratch for money. I'm just a pot addict. But through the words, I'm able to form a bond between the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Start formulating a plan. Like how are you getting this pot? He's telling me he's getting it from California. So I'm all about the quality. I'm like, there's better quality stuff than this, and he starts describing all these difficulties he has with getting it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, why don't we start growing pot? The three of us, because the guy at his house in East Nashville, he said, I want to grow pot in my basement. So I started influencing him on how to do that. So he starts investing all this money and building an indoor grow lab in his basement.
Wow. So
the scruffy looking guy, he said, I've got a double wide trailer in Ashland City, and we can take it from the vegetative plants, the ones that are,
the seedlings. And, yeah.
So the East Nashville guy would take them from the seeds, grow them to the vegetative stage, about 6 inches tall. And then we converted this double wide trailer to a grow house. We take one room for the vegetation, another room for the flowering, another room for the processing and the drying. And it really started to go well. I was the labor guy. So that's all I really had to offer.
Yeah.
They bought all the equipment. They bought everything. That stuff's very expensive. Soil and nutrients. And so 2 or 3 crops in, we weren't making much money at all. Splitting that 3 ways and all the risk.
Mm-hmm.
East Nashville guy ended up getting busted. He dealt to some guy walking on the street, and the guy got busted and ratted him out.
Yeah.
Guy's girlfriend called me, and I'm on the way to water the flowers every day. And she said, yeah, he got busted. You better burn everything in the house. Oh, man. I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Like searchlights on me, and got to the house, started yanking plants, bringing them out back. And I tried to light it. You ever try to light wet paper? It's like this weed is full of water. So I go to the gas station, get 5 gallons of gas, pour it on there, burning it, still doesn't want to burn. I have to go get 5 more gallons.
Wow.
I'm expecting the cops to show up at any moment now. But after I got it all burned, no cops, right? So me and the scruffy guy, we say, well, let's do something new. So I said, why don't you start going to Colorado, get it from Colorado? Because at that time, this is like 15 years ago, it's medically legal.
Yeah.
Which means that opens up the black market, meaning all that weed's got to go somewhere, and it's not all going to medical patients. Mm-hmm. So I influenced this guy to start making trips. He sets up a small camp there, and then I start making trips to California and Colorado to pick up small amounts of weed. And in the interim, he asked me to take care of his customers because he's got a base camp there. Mm-hmm. He had a pretty good amount of customers, which I ended up whittling down to, I only wanted to deal with customers that were a pound or more.
Yeah. I wanted,
more transactions, more risk. So I've got this guy's customers, and he's bringing me like poop. He's bringing me trash weed. One time he brought me 20 pounds of purple weed, but it had no taste and didn't get you high at all. I had to do all kinds of tricks to make it sellable. put in flavor on paper towels and, let it sit in the jar to give it a smell and an odor, I mean, I'm a salesman too. So, he just kept bringing me poop. And, I said, why don't you just stay there in Colorado? You need to set up base and meet people, because these people you're meeting, they're just selling you stuff to get off. And, he moved his family from the Nashville area in a 3,500 square foot house to a camper in Breckenridge.
Wow.
And it was
I've been there.
Yeah, it's cold.
Nice.
Real cold.
Real pretty.
Yeah. So he sets up shop there, and he still really can't come up with anything good. So I needed to get good quality stuff, because quality matters. Mm-hmm. I go to the Cannabis Cup in Colorado, which it's like a carnival. It's like a carnival plus a World's Fair of weed.
Yeah.
And you can network and you can test stuff. Really great place to start a business up. And I met a guy in line who was a Navy veteran. I'm a Navy veteran. And by the time we got in there, that was going to be my guy. Mm-hmm. He lived in Colorado for a long time. He knew quality weed. He actually grew quality weed in his house. And so I kind of sidelined the guy who moved there, and I said, I've got my own contact. All I need is the funds. And so we had an agreement to pay him a lot of interest money on what he'd loaned me, $100,000 loan. So
just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It wasn't just like paying back the $100,000 and we're square.
Yeah.
He kept moving the goal line every time I'd pay him. But the money was fine, so I wasn't really paying attention to, he's charging me more than like Tennessee title loans. Like as soon as you pay it, your balance is the same.
Percentage, yeah.
I could never pay it down, but I didn't really care. I made a contact with the guy from high school, and he really helped my business grow quite a bit. I went from 25 pounds to 50 pounds in less than 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He was buying 25 pounds every week of mine and steadily asking for more and more and more. So it basically grew from like I have an addiction to now I'm dealing 50 pounds. It became too much for me to drive it myself, to go to Colorado every week. So one of my friends became my driver, and boy, I paid him good. $150 per pound that he brought with me. And so that equated to $7,500 a week he made.
Wow.
I trusted him with my money, bought $115,000 worth every week. And I trusted the guy in Colorado. So once all the connections were made, I was set.
How much were you making every week?
$15,000 every week. So $60,000 a month. And I was at that level for, I'd say probably at least 3 years, maxing it out. I had endeavors to go larger. I met a dealer in Kentucky who was doing 300 pounds monthly.
Yeah.
And he gave me some really good ideas. I was going to get I met a guy in Colorado in a bar through my Colorado contact, and he was a Cessna pilot. Mm-hmm. And he said a flat rate of $10,000 and he'll transport as much as I want.
Wow.
All I needed to do was raise the capital to buy 300 pounds at a time, and that's quite a bit of difference, so I didn't go that route.
Yeah.
And it adds so many different layers of security to put that much money on the line. It's like going all in every time, and you can bust out. So, 60,000 a month. So I was doing $7.8 million a year in sales of pot. So I was making 10% of that.
Wow.
So, more than $750,000 a year.
Wow. And
that money flew away like wings of eagles, like Solomon says.
Yeah. What'd you spend it on?
What the prodigal son spend it on? Wine, women, and I had a severe addiction to strip clubs. Mm-hmm. I would use it as a means of feeling powerful.
Right.
I would just, I'd spend 5,000 a night in the strip club.
That's what.
I had a severe addiction to prostitutes. At times, I would have 2 to 3 prostitutes a week. So that's $600 to $1,000 in that. Materialism. I bought anything and everything that I wanted.
Yeah.
I had an addiction to rental cars, so I would love to just get the flyest rental car. I had a hookup who was a customer at Hertz at the airport. So every week I was driving something different and new. But on my drug runs, it was always a really modest car, like a Mazda 323.
Of course.
Forgettable
the station
car.
wagon. Yeah.
You don't want to be a drug dealer with 28s on chrome and a banging system. You're going to get busted.
Yeah.
So got all the way to the top, and basically I was calling the shots. I had people pulling chairs out for me. I had all the power and the money and the respect that people think is what you want. Unlimited funds, unlimited access, VIP, everything. But then where do you go from there?
Yeah, and I'm curious because it started with just pot and trying to fill that hole, whatever pot was filling, right? And so you wanted to make sure that was still there. But then you had all these other things coming up, the women and the materialism. Like, whoa, where did that hole come from? What is that?
Well, you don't know at the time why you do what you do. The hindsight is always 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I realized it was about feeding that approval and acceptance. There was a huge gap that I didn't have by my dad, and it manifests in everybody. When you feel rejected, the number one fear is rejection, and the number one need is approval. And when you experience rejection and you don't have the approval from the parent that you want it from, your mom can be a superstar, but if dad's, a bum, then, that's why it's so important for kids to have strong dads, for that nuclear family,
Yeah.
And my dad never told me he was proud of me. He never threw ball with me. He taught me how to sand a wall and to dry off a car with a towel, wrong kind of towel, not like a bathing towel. So he didn't even teach me to do that right. He laid down so many promises. I'll come and see you. I'll come and pick you up. And every time he would just dodge. He would never come. And I never gave up hope on him. I remember so many times my mom coming in and pulling me in from the darkness and saying, he's not going to come. He's not coming tonight.
Yeah. And
that scars you so bad. It still hurts to talk about it because that pain is still real. It's still, there's still a hurt there, and as much as I wanted him to say those things, my dad came from a place of pain in his own. And once I kind of recognized that later on in life, then, I knew that this pain came from his pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rick Warren says, hurt people will hurt people.
Yeah.
And so all of that, all the drugs, all the women, and prostitution and materialism, it all stemmed from something that was missing. And I think everyone has that in common. There's something missing.
Yeah.
And but we both know what fills that hole, right? But even if you don't want Jesus, nobody can give it to you. Nobody can make you search him, and it's like describing steak to somebody that's never had it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why would I want that? I'm just going to go get me some more money and some sex, and temporarily I'm going to feel better. But those feel better moments became shorter and shorter and shorter till I couldn't have happiness at all in my life. At the top, where everybody says you should be happy.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos has to take happy medicine.
That's
Let's
crazy.
sink in,
Yeah.
right? Well, why would you need that? That wouldn't make any sense. So it's like, I believe God let me have that so that I could realize that I needed him. I believe in mercy, and I believe that without seeing that myself, I wouldn't have believed it. And so I don't blame people for living the way that they want to live until God reveals himself to you personally. People like you and me can talk to your blue in the face about it.
Yeah.
You'll never be happy without Jesus, all that. But it's until you've hit rock bottom in your own way. The Holy Spirit it's got to do his work.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah. And so, okay, one thing I want to ask it.
I'll try not to be long-winded.
Have you forgiven your father?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He died before I even became a drug dealer. He was 40 years old when I was born, on his third family and fourth kid.
Sounds like my dad.
Yeah. He's a player of players. Never stopped womanizing, never stopped adultery. And that's how he got his acceptance and approval. That's how he filled that hole. And he came to Christ just a couple years before he died.
Yeah, man.
And when I was a drug dealer, I could afford, and I went to a psychiatrist, and I went to a counselor like 2 times a week, and I started getting out. It wasn't a Christian counselor; it was a high paid, and got out all the dad issues of blame, and started accepting what I was doing was because of what are the reasons why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But when I gave my life to Christ, that's one of those ministries that you have to do. You have to reconcile with other people, whether they're alive or dead.
Yeah.
And I refuse to carry the baggage of somebody else in my life anymore. Yeah. And forgiveness is not easy. It's not easy when somebody's abused you in your own way, whether it's physical or sexual or by rejecting you. That's abuse and it's trauma. And I first had to come to grips with forgiving myself for what I've done to other people.
Yeah.
And because you can't forgive other people unless you've forgiven yourself. That was the hardest part, because I had mistreated a lot of people. I became psychopathic as a drug dealer, completely shut off my emotions except for pleasure and anger. That's the only things I felt. And so when I came to grips with what I had done to other people, what I had done to my son, what I had done to my mother and trusted friends, and asked for forgiveness, when I forgave people that had tried to hurt me, that's when I was able to kind of tell my father in prayer, I'm sorry for that you were hurt, and I'm sorry that you didn't know how to love me, and it's not your fault. And I can't wait till I see you in heaven. That way we can hug on a different term, and you can tell me that you're proud of me for the right reasons.
That's good, man.
Yeah. You can't forgive people unless you've forgiven yourself, and that's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or know that you're forgiven already, and that's really where it starts. At least for me, it's what it was.
I didn't believe I was forgiven. There
was no reason to forgive myself. Who am I?
Yeah, because you can still feel the emotion of when you intentionally hurt other people, and it's like you can't rewrite that. That's still the script in your head. And I said and did things on purpose to hurt people, and coming to grips with that and saying, Lord, forgive me. And he's like, I've already forgiven you. And I'm like, no, Lord, forgive me, please. As many times as I thought about it, as many times as I went to the Lord, and he just, over time, I felt the comfort and actually accepted the forgiveness that he'd already offered. It is incredibly hard for me to get over who I was.
Yeah, that's one of the most powerful statements I think Jesus ever stated was, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Yeah. I think about that a lot. I think about that, and Stephen said that too. You know, as they were stoning him, and people do things that they don't understand why they do it, and you can turn on the news and see that every day, and I say that, I say it a lot. If they knew what we knew, they would not be that way. But what does it take to get a person to have that knowledge? And then what am I doing? Rather than sitting there and griping about, oh, there's another murder, there's another abuse. What am I going to do about it? You know?
Yeah. And well, what did you do in the midst? I mean, so you had all the money, you had all the cars, you had all the women, and I mean, how did you transition from that to coming to this revelation or this knowledge of forgiveness? And I mean,
God has a way of sending people, even when you're not His, to break through. And you know the contributor newspapers that people sell.
Yeah.
At Rivergate Mall, there was a cat with severe cerebral palsy, and he was selling the papers. And I never buy papers from those people. I don't give them money. I give them food. But I used to do my deals at Panera Bread, and I'd set the drugs in the car.
And get us some soup in a sack.
Yeah.
That's it, baby.
The door's open, go in and grab it, leave the money, you know, and perfect cover. So I'm sitting in there, and I like Panera anyway. This is not a plug for Panera. It's delicious though. And here he comes with the cerebral palsy. He's got drool coming out of his mouth, and he's swaying from side to side. And all he's in there doing, you know, dirty fingernails. He's in there trying to charge his phone. And I'm like, that's that cat. I've seen him so many times, and I want to know why he's out there selling papers. He's disabled. So, you know, I don't have any problem with walking up to strangers and saying anything that's on my mind. My wife hates it. But yeah, it's always been like that. So I walked over to him, and I'm like, what are you doing selling these papers, man? You need to be home collecting disability. And what he said was, God gave me this body, and I'm going to glorify Him with it. And his like arrow hit me in my heart. Like, oh man, that freaking hurt. You know, like I'm feeling something right now, something other than pleasure and anger. I'm feeling something. I haven't had emotions in years, and it's just this. It hit me like, what am I doing with my life? All I'm doing is taking. I'm not doing anything good. And so was that. It was. You know, Opry Mills is the biggest mall. Yeah. I used to go there and ball out. Took my son. My son was in my custody as a 14 through 18-year-old. He loved the lifestyle. But it was definitely illegal. But we've got hand full of bags, and I've got so much I need to put it in the trunk so we can continue shopping and get another couple stacks out of the car. And as I opened the trunk and I put them in there, I had no fulfillment, no pleasure. You know, usually you put something in there and you're thinking, I can't wait to try this on, or what outfit, what pants or shoes I'm going to wear with this, or at least I do. Yeah. But I felt like I could have just thrown them in the dumpster. And it was, you know, I bought designer clothes and all that, and it just felt empty. It felt like, what am I even doing? Yeah. Then I met a girl who's now my wife. I met her at a Walmart in the middle of the afternoon, in the middle of the work week. She's in scrubs. I'm dressed up like a dope boy. And I had seen her from years ago at the Civic Center in Gallatin, where they have workout and a pool. Middle of the day, I saw this girl with another guy in a two-piece, and she was smoking hot. I remembered that girl's face, and that was the same girl at the Walmart that day. This is probably 6-7 years after I'd seen her. So I walked up to her after I saw she didn't have a wedding ring on. And I said, I noticed you're not married anymore. I said, came off like a creeper. I said, I know you don't know me, but I remember you.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Ooh,
I see you.
stalker."
Yeah.
But yeah, she gave me her number. And we started dating. There's some stories about that in the book. I dedicated a whole chapter to her about that. But yeah, she did not want any materialism. She didn't. I took her to the malls, took her to Green Hills to get Louis Vuitton and Tiffany's, and she comes back with a T-shirt from Pac Sun.
Backside, yeah.
That's all she could find in the whole mall. And I was like, girl, you could have just walked away with $5,000 bag or something. And took her on several trips, but nothing impressed her. She just wanted to hang out with me. And I took her to St. Thomas on this big vacation next to the governor's house, talking $10,000 vacation. And on the plane, on the tarmac, as we're about to take off, I remember this song in my head. It's like, Wherever You Are Is Home. It's like an indie rock song. And I started just crying. Like the tears just started coming out of my eyes. And like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't think I want to be a drug dealer anymore. I think I want to be with you. I said, would you stay with me if I got busted? She no. She said, hell no, I'm not staying with you.
No, absolutely not.
25 to life federal prison. She's not staying with me.
Yeah.
And so it took those three: the cerebral palsy, the materialism, the loss of joy from that, and meeting somebody that actually wanted me for nothing else but me. I made a roadside prayer a couple weeks after that back in the States. And I pulled over and I asked God, kind of like a plea deal, if you get me out of this lifestyle, I'll give you my life.
Yeah, we call them foxhole prayers, right?
Yeah. It wasn't that I was in an immediate sense of danger or anything. I knew this was not fulfilling me anymore. I knew here's a woman I want to be with, and I'm not doing anything good for anybody. I want to change. There was a lot of tears in that prayer, and I hadn't talked to God in probably since I was 13. So it was a long time. And I just felt this peace coming over me. 2 weeks later, my prayer was answered in the fact that my driver got busted in Nebraska on the way to get the drugs. He had the money. He made a traffic violation, got pulled over. Turns out he had a warrant in Sumner County.
Okay.
Didn't tell me about that. Should have told me about that, but he ended up in Nebraska jail. The sheriff arrested him, had a car full of people. We used that as cover. I got a call from one of the guys that got out, said, your driver's still, they're interrogating him, but all of us are out. I bought him Greyhound tickets, and I said, I want to see the paperwork, make sure you're not getting over on me.
Yeah.
Sure enough, they showed me the paperwork, and I was very, very nervous because my driver is getting interrogated by Homeland Security. Because if it's over 100,000, they've got to bring in federal agents. It's under 10,000, you're fine. You can drive with under 10,000. If you drive with over 10,000, have a bank note, or it can be seized. Just to let you know. So,
that is not a tip on how to be a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah. I mean, you and another person can both have $9,999 on you. That's what I know.
Yeah.
So through that, I felt this amazing peace, that peace that goes beyond understanding. Even though I felt like the feds were coming in on me, I knew that this was an answer to my prayer. That was like the first time I felt God's divine hand and his sovereignty in my life. And although I was extremely stressed that I was going to go to federal prison for what had happened, I decided to hang it up. I didn't want to do it anymore, and I felt like this was the reason. I called my the guy who lived in Colorado, who was the finance guy. Still owed him 30 G's, even after making all that money. Still on the ledger was 30 G's.
Yeah.
I called him, And I said, man, I'm done. The driver was busted. I've got very low inventory. I'm just going to sell what I've got left and I'm out. And I hung up, and then I called the main customer, the guy that's buying half the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Told him the same story. By the way, he went to St. Thomas with me on that trip. So me and him were really close. Told him that it was over with. And here's the God part of the story, and this is where the foundation of my faith and everything comes from, is they both knock on my door 2 days later in the middle of the afternoon in Madison. Guy come from Colorado and talked to my customer. They talked together and they said, we're going to get this guy to bow.
Mm.
They walk in and they said, sit down. I'm like, hold up, chump.
Yeah.
I'm calling the shots
In my
here.
house.
Yeah, and I'm the boss, but not that day. So they say sit down, and they sit in the couch across from me, and in a very convincing way, they go like, "You're going to continue to do this. There's no other way this can happen. You're the cog, and if we take you out, then there's no way to do this."
Mm.
My main customer was like, "I left my wife and kids for you. I've followed you everywhere, and you're just gonna just hang it up." You know, he's trying to punk me. These guys are atheists, have protested about God, and the whole time I've known them, you know, F God, you know, he's not real. And there's comes that moment of, I didn't know what I was going to do. But I remember something about when I was a kid is, you know, just cry out to God. It's all I could hear in my head.
Yeah.
The time just stopped, and God spoke to me in a way I could understand it. And he said, who are you going to serve? Are you going to serve man, or are you going to serve me?
Mm.
I dropped to my knees in front of them, and I closed my eyes, and I threw my arms up, and I cried out for God over and over again. I just kept saying, God, help me. God, help me. They got up and they cursed me. But then as I'm still there on my knees with tears running down my eyes, I hear the door close, and they left.
Mm.
And I never saw them again. So it was like God reached in that living room, and I don't know what he did, what he said. Maybe he just scared them. There's no reasoning why they should have left. They left. And I settled up the ledgers. I ended up with $30,000 left over, buried that at my mom's house.
Yeah.
Moved to Gallatin with this girl and my son, and started fresh, started building furniture, and eventually got a retail job. She led us to a church. That's my home now still.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started this. And I read a really amazing book, Purpose Driven Life.
Yeah.
And it revolutionized what I was here to do. It gave me a blueprint of, you know, you're here for worship and for fellowship, discipleship, and your ministry and your story. And what am I going to do? You know, and I just started just soaking in the word and trying to understand what it meant, trying to apply it to my life. I think that's what all of us need.
Yeah.
And then started serving, you know, with kids, and then moved to teenagers and students, and doing individual counseling with troubled kids, trying to keep them from where I was.
Yeah. Give them your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just real quick. It's the purpose-driven life, man. It's a huge part of my testimony. Like, that's the book that somebody handed me while I was laying in a prison bunk.
It's an awesome book.
And I'm like, yeah,
Awesome.
I think I read it in a couple days because it's supposed to be like a devotional or whatever. But
Yeah.
I read it in a couple days, and then
The audio
after
book
that-
is awesome too, because Rick Warren does the audio on
Does
it.
he?
Yeah, and I probably read it 4 or 5 times.
I don't think isn't he like,
he's retired.
He's retired, but isn't he like, I don't know. I've heard different people in the faith talk about like, don't listen to him, he's a heretic or something crazy. I don't know.
I listened to nothing but his sermons. Like the first 5 years I was discipling, and I think he presents the gospel in a very practical way.
Yeah.
And gives me step by step on how to do it. You know, I love Rick Warren. I don't care what people say about him. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's not Joel Osteen.
Just don't even get me started, man. So okay, so drug dealer, you had the amazing encounter with Christ, and those few experiences that God was just like poking at you, you know.
Yeah.
And now you got this beautiful wife and your kid, and I mean, how did you get to writing something like this? Like, where did the inspiration come? What made you think, man, I should write this down?
When I tell that testimony, in a short version, to other believers, they say they never heard a testimony like that, where God stepped in and changed my life in a moment. And everybody would always say, you need to write a book about that, or that should be a movie or something. I'm like, I'm not that grandiose. I don't,
It would be pretty cool.
It felt like very egotistical to write a book. It felt, and for me, even doing podcasts kind of feels like a bit of arrogance and ego. And once I had all that stuff, I realized that was empty for me. Like, I don't want to step back into trying to get people to like me. I'm already liked by the creator of the universe. So
right.
I don't need anybody's attention anymore. But you get enough influence, and a really good friend of mine, Adam Pope, he was listening to my podcast, and he said, you need to turn that into a book.
Yeah.
So I did. I started in January of this year, and I finished it in 4 months.
Wow.
And that was crazy because I don't even like to read.
Yeah.
I don't. But I found it very easy. I found like the Holy Spirit was like right there. Like, take that part out. Don't put nobody needs to know about that story, because that is arrogance. I got a story on my podcast that is my wife. She doesn't like it.
She doesn't like it.
No, she's like, take that out of the book.
Just flaunting or
just
bragging. Or
I
something.
had some crazy stories, in my life, and not just drug dealing stories, but just other stories. And I just wanted to put it all out there and show that there's redemption, even from the gutter, even from the sludge. There's redemption. But I found it to be very easy. Just doing the publishing and doing the business part of it, it's kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
But thank you for what you've been doing to help me, honestly.
Yeah, man. That's what I said it in one of those last episodes of like that. Just to be able to elevate voices for the kingdom is an honor, and I'm really glad. I'm excited. I'm glad that you're here. And so I'm curious, and this is a question about kind of your identity too, because I wanted to just kind of tie it all together. Of there was the drug dealing whole feeling, trying to just cope whatever way with life that you could, version of you, and now there's this Andrew that's God filled and Spirit filled. But I'm curious about how you hold the tension of your identity in God while still being you. You said you wanted to be your authentic self, right? And that's a cool concept, and I think more people need to understand that. But so I guess my question is how have you held the tension of maintaining who you are? I mean, minus the whole feeling part of you, right? Because you're still the same Andrew, right? The new creation or the restored creation of you has come to life now. Yeah. But I'm just curious, just for those listening, of what you had to go through. Maybe somebody's still stuck in the same cycles, or still trying to fill holes with porn or drugs or whatever it may be. So
I think it comes down to the word surrender. I really had to understand what the word lordship meant for me. And that was the really, even as a new believer, I still didn't want to give up my lordship. As an egomaniac, as a arrogant person, as somebody who thinks they're right more than wrong, giving that over to a higher power. I don't even like to have a boss. I do not like to be told what to do. If you tell me don't push the button, I'm going to push the button. If you say don't say this word, I'm going to, not intentionally, but it's just who I am. So surrendering was that point where I found my identity in surrendering
Mm-hmm.
and who I really am, who I've always been. It's just like I was in black and white before, and now I'm in color. I'm in 4K or 8K or whatever,
whatever it is
16,
out now,
32K. I'm there. It's like the person who I've always been is now just I'm just radiating from giving over my control to him and just sitting in the back seat of the limo and chilling. Like I don't have to worry about where I'm going. I don't have to worry about who likes me or who doesn't. I don't have to worry about how I look to other people.
Mm.
I'm comfortable in my own skin, and that gives me a confidence and an assurance that I have a new identity, and that identity is rooted in integrity and in hope and in love.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest part is getting over that fact that I was closed off for my emotions for such a long time.
Yeah.
For more than 15 years, I suffered from psychopathy where I just didn't feel anything. And that's a hole I'm still getting out of. I still have issues with being kind and loving and affectionate. And my wife has a lot of grace for that. But the Lord's still working on me there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can be cold and I can appear to be callous, and just giving that control over to Him.
Yeah,
That's one of my prayers every day.
Yeah,
Help me be kind.
That battle.
Help me be loving. Help me to reflect You, because me is still wants to, not be told what to do by anybody.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, somebody told you to write a book and you listened, so I'm
Yeah.
glad that happened.
If the Lord tells me to do it, I'm all fine with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, yeah, no, thank you for that, man, and thank you for your vulnerability and just for being who you are.
There's
And,
freedom in vulnerability. There's
yeah.
freedom in transparency, and it hurts at first, but it feels so good when you can be the same person everywhere.
Yeah,
And you don't have to keep a record of who you are to this person or what you've said to that person. I'm just Drew, and if God likes me, I like me. If you don't like me, what's your problem?
get bent.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not.
No,
I'm not into the networking. Hey, brother, where do you work? What do you do?
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm just gonna chill on the wall till all y'all get done talking,
Yeah,
and I'm just here to serve King. I don't care about you knowing me or I don't mean that personally. I
I
love
take
you.
it personal. It's
Yeah.
fine. No, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
No. So, all right. So, what's next? You're here now. What's next?
What's next is I had a podcast. I mean, I still have it, Humbled Highs,
Okay.
and through your inspiration and your marketing prowess, I'm gonna redo it. I'm gonna start with smaller episodes and try to all these lessons that I have grown from. I want to put that back out there in a real simple and practical way,
Yeah.
relatable way to my brokenness, and hopefully I can help somebody. I have to be the face of this brand from Kingpin to Kingdom, and that means I have to put myself in front of a camera, and I have to do podcasts, and I have to do promotions. But what I really want to do is speaking events.
Mm-hmm.
I want to help teenagers. I want to help people in jail, and I'm only doing Sumner County right now, but I don't want to be driving a truck the rest of my life. I want to be full-time in the kingdom. And I believe this book is a way for doors to open,
Okay.
for me to get opportunities to speak about my experiences and to help people.
Yeah.
I don't want this story to die with me. I want it to shine God's glory and help other people. So I wrote the book to help other people.
Yeah.
And I want to help other people.
And just keep building it.
Yeah.
Keep building
So
the kingdom.
if somebody out there wants to hire me to do full-time ministry,
Let's go.
as long as you don't tell me what to do too much and just let me be freelance, 'cause
Just pay me and let me take it over. Don't worry about
if
it.
you're rich out there and you just want to be like, forget my granddaughter, I'm just going to fund Andrew Kirkland for 10 years. And I'm like, your money will go far. It'll stretch into eternity.
I'll take that offer too.
Yeah. I haven't found anybody yet. So,
not yet, huh?
yeah.
So tell, there's your camera there. If you want to tell the folks at home about how they could get your book or how they can find out more about you and maybe your website and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my website is from Kingpin to Kingdom.com. And there right on the front is linked to my book, an Amazon link, and it's soon to be in stores, Walmart and Barnes and Noble, Target, like that. Also on the website is links to my social media, links to the podcast, Humbled Highs, and there's also services on there that I offer. So if you are a prison chaplain or a captain and you'd like me to come speak at the prison, I would love to. If you are a mother to a troubled teen, you can get a hold of me there. I'd love to help you with that advice. If you'd like me to come and do group teachings, I've got a whole booklet that I've been working on for 10 years of sermons that I can do, all kind of messages. So go to the website, and you can, I'm never too busy to get back one-on-one with somebody. So I'd love to connect with you personally and help you on your journey, help you to grow closer to Christ, and do anything I can.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew. Thanks for being here. Thanks for telling your story and for writing this book, man. And just the work you're doing for the kingdom, bro. It's an honor to have you here. And I'm really blessed that you showed up.
I believe you.
Seriously, man. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys. And thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Vision Podcast. I just really want to say thank you to Andrew for this book, From Kingpin to Kingdom. Make sure you check it out, from Kingpin to Kingdom.com. Also, thank you to Men of Valor for sponsoring this episode. I couldn't do it without you. You guys are just a huge blessing in my life. And if you're still here, I wanted to make sure to tell you, check us out on Patreon. It's patreon.com, the Vision / the Vision Podcast. I'm just going to have some insights and things like that, kind of behind the scenes of what goes on in the brain of mine up here and what God is telling me to say. So make sure you check that out. And also check out thevisionpodcast.com. You can stay up to date on all the new updates that we've got going on, courses, things like that are coming out. And shop.thevisionpodcast.com to get you some merch. Somebody told me they couldn't see my hat the other day, so here you go. There's the logo. Yeah, make sure you check it out. And thanks so much for being here. Be blessed.